As we get closer to the 2024 New Hampshire primaries, it's looking more and more likely that Dean Phillips could change the electoral math for Republicans. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video today. It is time that we talk about the chaos that is unfolding in the New Hampshire primaries. Now, as many of you know, the Republican primary is in a couple months, and there's been a big question about, can any other Republican qualify for delegates? For those that don't know, you need 10% of the vote in New Hampshire to qualify for delegates in the state. Well, funny enough, there is a possibility that Dean Phillips, who's running on the Democrat side, could pull votes away from Christie, Nikki Haley, etc., and give Donald Trump every single delegate in the state. I know that may sound crazy, but when you look at how New Hampshire does its primary, it's not that crazy after all. But first, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you could join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that we all know and love. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Alright, everybody. Now, let me be clear. I am not saying for 100% certainty that Donald Trump's the only one getting delegates. With that being said, this is a hilarious scenario that is brewing. And I've been thinking about this for a while, that Dean Phillips running could unironically screw over Nikki Haley, Christie from getting delegates. Like I said, you need 10% of the vote in New Hampshire to get delegates for the Republican side. Well, with how New Hampshire does its primaries, already it's tough enough, but with the fact that Democrats have a primary going technically, well, it could change some things. So let's get into it. Alright, Dean Phillips isn't likely to hurt Joe Biden in New Hampshire, which is true. Even if Phillips wins the New Hampshire primary, which I don't see happening, it still would be hilarious if it happened, but he's not going to magically hurt Biden in the general election. That's not what I'm saying. But his entry to the Democrat primary could spoil Nikki Haley and Christie's electoral math here, which sounds ludicrous at face value. But this is why. The two Republicans are polling better than any other candidate with New Hampshire independents, who are likely to pull a GOP ballot in the state's open presidential primary. That's a major boost in a state where independents make up the largest share of the electorate, and where the lack of a serious contest on the Democratic side meant many of them were poised to vote in the Republican primary. Which, yeah, a lot of independents, they may have voted the Democrat primary last year, but New Hampshire, if you're independent, you can vote in either primary. But, and this is the funny thing, by challenging Biden, Phillips gives those voters another choice. Less than a month after launching his campaign, the Minnesota lawmakers already pulling in 10% of support among independents in a recent poll of likely Democrat primary voters. And that's the big problem. For Christie, for Haley, and let's be clear, Trump's going to win New Hampshire. But for the electoral math, delegates-wise, that would be end of the campaign, even though it basically is, for Haley and Christie. Their entire campaign banked on, especially Christie, on New Hampshire. That he could get enough delegates in New Hampshire, consolidate the anti-Trump moderate vote, and try to pull something. Suddenly, Haley and Christie are encountering independent voters at their town halls who may not vote in the Republican primary after all. I would like to hear Dean Phillips, Larry Gray, a Newcastle independent, said about an hour after telling Christie at a recent business roundtable that he was back in the former New Jersey governor. Diana Noble, a Neosha independent who's interested in Haley and Christie, said at a town hall for the former South Carolina governor that she'll absolutely be doing her due diligence on the Democrat side now that Phillips is in. If Dean Phillips runs the kind of race that he says he's going to run, then all independents will be up for grabs, said Mike Denny, a veteran GOP operative in New Hampshire. You know, I always wondered, okay, with Phillips running, how would it have affected the Republican side? Because now you got independents saying, oh, hey, if there's a chance of vote against Biden in the Democrat side, sign me up. And the fact that he's not on the ballot, that may give more incentive for these independents to vote for Biden or maybe vote against him. That's a big problem for Christie and Haley, whose entire campaigns are banking on independents in New Hampshire. Now that they're essentially, a lot of them are going to vote for potentially Phillips now, that 10% doesn't seem as likely anymore. And that, he said, is harmful to Christie and Nikki Haley. It's difficult in this notoriously late-breaking state to predict the extent to which a Democrat can contest, and a messy one, with Biden on the ballot and his allies running a writing campaign on his behalf, will affect Haley and Christie's vote counts. I absolutely believe it does. Because it's not an uncontested primary, even though it basically is now, on the Democrat side. And now the Biden campaign, they're focusing on a writing campaign, which may incentivize some hardcore independents or quote-unquote independents that are Dems to flip Democrat and not vote for Haley and Christie. It's a mess. That was always the problem, the risk of screwing over the New Hampshire voters for Christie and Haley. All right, for their sake, this may end them. And Christie's dismissing Phillips as a threat to his chances in the state, where both candidates are staking their campaigns, which is idiotic. I mean, Christie, those independents that you're banking on, a lot of them are Democrats. That's the only reason you're pulling above 10% in the state. If it wasn't for them, you'll probably still be in second, but at like 8. Dean Phillips doesn't really concern me at all. I think we'll be fine, Christie told reporters after a recent campaign stop in Derry. The Republican primary is a much more attractive option for stopping Orange Man, and I think that's where a lot of independents want to do. Bull crap. You know, this theory that, oh, I'm going to get all the Democrat independents to vote for me, it's sure if there wasn't a contested primary on the Democrat side, but now there is. Sure, Biden's going to win the New Hampshire primary, but now you have a Democrat actively campaigning in the state, doing town hall after town hall after town hall. But both Christie and Haley have been rising in recent polls of the first primary state, in no small part because of their support they've earned with independents. Polling averages now show them in second and third place, respectively, in New Hampshire, where even a marginal shift in the electorate could alter the trajectory of their campaigns. Independents make up just over 39% of the state's voters, with Republicans and Dems both around 30%. More than 3,500 Dems switched unenrolled, New Hampshire's term for independence, ahead of the state's early October deadline to change party affiliation for the January 23rd primary. And you had frickin' Christie telling Democrats to switch to stop Orange Man. But now, both Phillips and Democrats are running the Biden write-in effort, say they're looking to pull independents back to their side. Why are people just denying that this is going to not impact anything? Why is it a big deal, even though Trump's going to win the primary by a lot? Instead of getting, let's just say, half the delegates, that's low, but just an example. If neither Haley or Christie get 10% of the vote, Trump gets every single delegate. That's a big deal. That would kill any possibility of a last-second surge from Christie or Haley. A death blow which their campaign's already dead. This gives independents now a chance to focus on where they want to cast their ballots. Jim Demers, one of the architects of the Biden write-in effort, said in an interview, knowing that Donald Trump in all likelihood is going to win here in New Hampshire, I think there may be some independents who are rethinking about maybe they'll write in Joe Biden's name instead. Which is true. A lot of these independents, now that Biden's not on the ticket and Dean Phillips is picking up steam in the state, they may flip. Phillips is already drawing some independent support at the margins. 9 weeks out from the New Hampshire primary, a University of New Hampshire poll showed 10% of independents likely to vote in the Democrat contest would cast ballots for Minnesota's lawmaker, compared to 61% who said they would write in Biden's name. But just 10% that could potentially vote on the Republican side flipping, That screws Christie, and that screws Haley, thank God. You know, it would be absolutely hilarious if Donald Trump wins every single delegate because of Democrats flipping back to the Democrat Party. That would be absolutely ironic. After Christie's entire campaign was Orange Man bad, Democrats flip to me. And it, not that crazy. New Hampshire has some absolutely bizarre primaries. I mean, back in 2012, they boosted Ron Paul and John Huntsman the second and third. And exit polls in 2016 show that independents, in large part, helped Trump win the primary. And also helped Bernie Sanders crush Clinton, but to be fair, he's from Vermont, and that causes some problems for Clinton. This year, it's Haley and Christie who appear to be benefiting the most from independents' interests, as they vie to be the main contender against the former president. A University of New Hampshire poll of 994 likely Republican primary voters showed Haley with 25% support among independents, and Christie and Trump with 24% apiece. And that's why Christie's in the race. He's getting a quarter of the independents, while Trump is getting basically all the actual Republicans in the state. So you just start looking more and more into it. This is bad news for Christie and Haley. I mean, even if Dean Phillips just takes just a couple percent of the vote here and there, Christie and Haley are hovering above 10% right now. That could give them the 8%, which would give Trump every single delegate. Honestly, I hope Dean Phillips gets a lot of the vote, just to screw Christie over, kill any chance of Haley gaining some BS momentum, and just end the primary here. Be done with it. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.